please, don't let him find me." The whisper was so small that the winter wind almost carried it away. But inside the abandoned wooden house, standing alone in the middle of the Montana wilderness, those few words held the fear of a child who had already lost everything. It was the winter of 1880. The frontier was a place where people disappeared. Storms buried roads overnight, and lonely cabins often stood empty for years. At the edge of a frozen valley, far away from any town, there was an old house that looked like time had forgotten. The roof was broken, the wooden walls were falling apart, the windows had no glass. The floor was covered with dust and pieces of old furniture. Nobody lived there anymore, at least. That's what everyone thought. Inside that forgotten house, beneath a broken wooden bench, a little girl was hiding. She was 6 years old. Her name was Emily Carter. Her small body was pressed against the cold floor. She wore a thin, torn dress under an old coat that was too big for her. Her hair was messy, her face was dirty, and tears had dried on her cheeks, but she wasn't crying anymore. She had learned that crying made noise, and noise brought danger. Emily pulled her knees closer and listened. The sound came again. Boots, walking through snow, slowly, closer. Her little heart raced. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Please. Don't let him find me." 3 days earlier, Emily had lived a normal life with her mother in a small farmhouse near the valley. Then everything changed. Men came in the night, they destroyed their home, they took her mother away, and Emily escaped into the darkness. She didn't know where she was going. She didn't know who could help her. She only knew she had to keep running, until she found this abandoned house, until she found this broken bench, until she found a place where she could hide. But now, someone had followed her. Outside the house, a shadow moved past the broken window. Emily stopped breathing. A man's voice echoed through the empty room. "You know you're in there." Her eyes filled with fear. She recognized that voice. She had heard it before. The man who took her mother, the man who promised he would find her. Suddenly, a different sound came from outside. A horse. Emily froze. Another person had arrived, but was he friend, or another danger? The rider stopped near the old house. His name was Cole Dawson. Cole was a cowboy who had spent most of his life on the frontier. He was a rancher, a traveler, and a man who had learned how cruel life could be. Years earlier, Cole had lost his wife during a harsh winter. After that day, he stopped building relationships. He stopped making promises. He believed loneliness was safer, because when you cared about someone, you could lose them. That evening, Cole was returning to his ranch when his horse suddenly stopped. "Easy, boy," he said. The animal refused to move. Cole looked toward the old abandoned house. Something felt wrong. Then he heard it, a child's voice. Very faint. Cole stared at the house. He had a choice: keep riding, or investigate. The old version of himself would have kept going. But something inside him made him step down from his horse. He walked toward the broken door. Inside, the house was freezing. The wind moved through the walls. Cole raised his lantern. "Hello?" "Nothing. I'm not here to hurt you." Emily stayed hidden. Cole walked slowly through the room. Then he noticed something. Small footprints. A child had been here. He followed them. They ended near the old bench. Cole stopped. He slowly lowered himself. "Little one, silence. I know you're scared." Emily looked at him from beneath the bench. Cole saw her frightened eyes, and something changed in his expression, because he wasn't looking at a stranger. He was looking at a child who reminded him of everything he had lost. He removed his coat and placed it on the floor. "You must be cold." Emily didn't move. "Who are you?" Cole answered softly. "My name is Cole." She looked at him. "Are you going to take me?" Frowned. "Back where?" Emily looked toward the door. Her voice became a whisper. "To him." Cole understood someone was chasing this child. "Who is he?" Before Emily could answer, the front door suddenly moved. Creak. Both of them turned. A man stood outside in the snow. Tall, cold expression, dark coat. His name was Harlan Voss, the most feared man in the valley. He owned land. He owned businesses. And many people believed he owned the law too. Harlan looked inside. "There you are." Emily immediately moved behind Cole. Cole stepped forward. "You know this child?" Harlan smiled. "She doesn't belong with you." Cole's eyes narrowed. "That wasn't my question." Harlan stepped closer. "Give her to me." Cole looked back at Emily. The little girl was shaking. And in that moment, Cole made a decision that would change both their lives. "No." Harlan's smile disappeared. "You don't know what you're getting involved in." Cole lifted his rifle. "Maybe not." He looked at Emily. "But I know one thing." He stepped between them. "She's afraid of you." The wind became stronger. The two men stared at each other. Harlan finally smiled. Then I guess you'll have to learn the truth the hard way. He turned his horse around. But I always get what I want. As Harlan disappeared into the snow, Cole closed the door. Emily looked up at him. Why did you help me? Cole didn't answer immediately, because the truth was, he didn't know. Maybe because he remembered being alone, maybe because he knew what it felt like when nobody came. He looked at the little girl, because nobody should have to hide under a broken bench just to survive. Outside, the storm continued, but inside that old house, for the first time in days, Emily felt safe. She didn't know it yet. But the cowboy who found her in the darkness would become the person who changed her entire future. And Harlan Voss would do everything he could to stop that. The old abandoned house became silent after Harlan Voss disappeared into the storm. But Cole Dawson knew one thing: a man like Harlan never walked away because he had given up. He walked away because he was planning something worse. Cole looked at Emily, who was still standing near the broken bench, the same bench where she had spent hours hiding in fear, the same place where she believed nobody would ever find her. "Come on," Cole said gently. Emily looked at him. "Where?" "My ranch." She hesitated. "What if he finds us?" Cole picked up his coat and placed it around her shoulders. "He might try." Emily lowered her eyes. "Then why are you helping me?" Cole looked at the broken house around them. "Because someone helped me once." He paused, "and I never forgot it." The journey to Cole's ranch was difficult, the snow was deep, the wind was powerful, but Cole kept his horse moving carefully, making sure Emily stayed warm. For the first time in days, the little girl slept without fear. When they reached the ranch, Emily looked surprised. It wasn't a huge place, just a small wooden cabin, a barn, and a few horses, but there was something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Cole opened the door. "Welcome home, for now." Emily looked at him. "For now?" Cole smiled slightly, "until we figure out what happened." Inside the cabin, Cole prepared a warm meal. Emily ate slowly at first, then faster. Cole noticed. "When was the last time you ate?" The girl looked down. She didn't answer, and Cole didn't ask again. That night, Emily slept near the fireplace. Cole sat awake, staring into the flames. He thought about the past, the people he couldn't save, the promises he couldn't keep. And now, a little girl was depending on him. The next morning, Cole rode to the nearest town to find answers. There he discovered something shocking. Emily wasn't the only person Harlan Voss had hurt. For years, Harlan had been using his power to force families away from their land. Anyone who refused to leave lost everything, but Emily's mother had whispered the truth. She had found proof of what Harlan was doing. And that was why Harlan came after her, not because of Emily, because of what Emily had seen. Cole returned to the ranch before sunset. But someone was already waiting. Harlan Voss this time. He brought more men. Cole stepped outside. "You really don't know when to stop." Harlan smiled. "No, Cole." He looked toward the cabin. "I know exactly when to stop. When I get what I came for." Cole's expression hardened. "You're not taking her." Harlan laughed. "You still don't understand." He stepped closer. "That child is the only witness left." Cole stared at him. "Witness to what?" Harlan's smile disappeared. "To the night her mother tried to expose me." For a moment, everything became clear. Emily wasn't just running away, she was running with the truth. Harlan ordered his men forward, but before they reached the cabin, a sound came from the valley. Horses. Many horses. Cole turned. The families from the surrounding ranches were arriving, the same people Harlan had frightened for years, but they were no longer afraid. An old rancher stepped forward. "We heard what you did, Harlan." Another man said, "You took our homes." A woman added, "You thought nobody would stand against you." Harlan looked around. For the first time, he had lost control. Cole held his ground. "You made one mistake." Harlan stared at him. "What?" "You thought fear was stronger than courage." The truth about Harlan Voss finally came out. The people he had threatened spoke. The evidence against him was revealed, and the man who believed he controlled the entire valley was finally defeated. Weeks later, the abandoned house where Emily had hidden was repaired, but Cole kept one thing exactly the same: the old broken bench. When people asked why, he always gave the same answer: "Because that's where I found someone who needed me." Emily never had to hide again. The little girl who once feared every sound outside the door now laughed while riding horses across the ranch. And Cole Dawson, the cowboy who believed he was meant to live alone, finally understood something. Sometimes life sends you the person you need most, in the moment you least expect. One evening, Emily stood beside Cole watching the sunset. "Cole," Yes, do you think you found me that night? Cole looked at the mountains, then smiled. No. Emily looked confused. Then what happened? Cole looked at her. I think we found each other. The cowboy who turned back for a frightened child, discovered that one act of kindness could heal years of loneliness, a broken house, a broken bench, and a little girl who just needed someone to stay. Changed everything. The end. If you enjoyed this emotional 1880s Wild West story, like this video and subscribe to Meaningful Impact 2.1 for more unforgettable frontier stories.